Have you ever loved someone who felt deeply sensitive, but still somehow unreachable? Have you ever been in a relationship where one person keeps trying to bring warmth, reassurance, care, advice, comfort, and emotional softness, while the other person keeps stepping back, shutting down, protecting themselves, or saying, "I just need space"? Then, you may be looking at the emotional mystery of the Chaturthi Dashami Tithi pairing. This is not a light relationship pattern. This is not the kind of compatibility where two people naturally melt into each other without effort. This is a relationship where one emotional body is guarded, private, philosophical, vulnerable, and easily irritated by emotional pressure, while the other emotional body is sensitive, empathic, imaginative, service-oriented, and often too available for the partner's pain. And that is where the attraction begins. But that is also where the suffering begins, because Chaturthi and Dashami do not love in the same emotional language. Chaturthi loves through depth, silence, protection, truth, and inner loyalty. Dashami loves through care, emotional participation, advice, empathy, and the desire to bring peace. Now listen carefully. At first, this can feel beautiful. The Dashami person may feel, "I can sense something deep inside this Chaturthi person. They are not ordinary. They carry pain. They carry truth. They carry a world inside them." And the Chaturthi person may feel, "This Dashami person is gentle. They are soft. They are sensitive. They are not attacking me. Maybe I can relax here." But after the initial attraction, the deeper incompatibility begins to show, because Dashami wants emotional flow. Chaturthi wants emotional control. Dashami wants to enter the heart. Chaturthi wants to decide who gets access. Dashami wants to talk, soothe, understand, and help. Chaturthi wants silence, space, privacy, and emotional safety before opening. And this is where a relationship can become quietly painful. Not because there is no love, but because the way love is expressed by one person may feel like pressure to the other, and the way protection is expressed by one person may feel like rejection to the other. That is the Chaturthi Dashami intimacy wound. One person keeps asking, "Why won't you let me in?" The other keeps asking, "Why do you keep coming too close?" If you are in this relationship, or if you have healed from a relationship like this, you must understand something very clearly. This pairing is not naturally easy. It belongs to a difficult emotional compatibility zone because Chaturthi carries the Rikta quality, the empty, guarded, withholding, protective pattern. Dashami carries the Purna quality, the full, giving, gentle, emotionally generous pattern. So one person can feel like a closed cave. The other can feel like a flowing river. The river wants to enter the cave. The cave fears being flooded. And unless both people mature, this becomes the entire emotional drama of the relationship. Now let me take you deeper. The Chaturthi emotional body is not shallow. It is not heartless. It is not incapable of love. In fact, Chaturthi can be intensely vulnerable. But that vulnerability is hidden under protection. Chaturthi may be truthful, philosophical, intuitive, inward, easily disturbed by outer noise, and deeply sensitive to emotional injustice. But they often do not show their softness openly. They may retreat into silence. They may become irritated. They may look disinterested in ordinary pleasures. They may seem emotionally unavailable when they are actually emotionally overwhelmed. This is important. A Chaturthi person may not withdraw because they do not care. They may withdraw because they care too much and do not know how to stay open without feeling exposed. So when Dashami comes with softness, concern, questions, advice, and emotional support, Chaturthi may not always receive it as love. They may receive it as invasion. They may think, "Why are you trying to read me? Why are you trying to fix me? Why are you trying to enter places inside me that I have not invited you into?" And then they pull back. Now look at Dashami. Dashami is sensitive, empathic, imaginative, multi-layered, and often caught between the spiritual and material world. Dashami can be full of dreams, fantasies, intuition, and a deep desire to serve. This person often feels other people's emotions. They may naturally advise, they may naturally help, they may naturally try to create peace. But Dashami has its own shadow. Dashami can become too influenced by opinions. Dashami can become confused by too many directions. Dashami can blur boundaries. Dashami can confuse love with emotional service. Dashami can think, if I give more, if I understand more, if I care more, if I become softer, maybe this person will finally open. But with Chaturthi, giving more does not always create closeness. Sometimes it creates more distance, because Chaturthi does not open by force. Chaturthi opens through trust. Chaturthi opens when there is no emotional demand. Chaturthi opens when the partner can sit beside them without trying to decode them. And that is very difficult for Dashami, because Dashami often feels love as participation. Dashami wants to be involved. Dashami wants to be needed. Dashami wants to help. Dashami wants to feel that their care is received. So when Chaturthi rejects advice or withdraws from affection, Dashami may feel useless, unwanted, and emotionally abandoned. This is where the emotional incompatibility becomes very sharp. Chaturthi says, "Give me space." Dashami hears, "I do not need you." Dashami says, "Let me help you." Chaturthi hears, "You are trying to control me." Both misunderstand each other, both get hurt, both start protecting themselves, and slowly, love becomes a negotiation of distance. Now let us talk about intellectual compatibility. Mentally, this pairing can be powerful. Chaturthi loves deeper meaning. Dashami is drawn to reflection, intuition, dreams, service, and spiritual questions. So these two can have deep conversations. They may discuss life purpose, healing, philosophy, emotional wounds, spiritual practices, family patterns, compassion, suffering, and the hidden meaning behind events. There can be a strong psychological connection. The Dashami person may admire Chaturthi's depth. The Chaturthi person may appreciate Dashami's sensitivity. But the problem begins when thought becomes emotional correction. Dashami may offer advice too quickly. Chaturthi may reject it too sharply. Dashami may say, "I am only trying to help." Chaturthi may say, "I did not ask to be fixed." And then the mental connection becomes tense. In this pairing, intelligence must be used carefully, because Chaturthi can become too hard in truth. Dashami can become too soft in interpretation. Chaturthi may cut through illusion. Dashami may try to preserve emotional peace. Chaturthi may say what is uncomfortable. Dashami may say what is healing. Both are needed. But if immature, Chaturthi may call Dashami confused, unrealistic, or too influenced by others. Dashami may call Chaturthi negative, closed, moody, or emotionally harsh. And once respect starts weakening, intimacy starts weakening. Because for this pairing, emotional intimacy depends on mental respect. If Dashami feels intellectually dismissed, they will stop opening. If Chaturthi feels psychologically simplified, they will stop trusting. So the mature rule is this: Dashami must stop over-advising. Chaturthi must stop over-defending. Dashami must ask, "Do you want comfort, advice, or space?" Chaturthi must answer honestly instead of punishing the partner with silence. That one practice can transform this pairing. Now let us enter the sexual intimacy of Chaturthi Dashami. This is not necessarily a raw, explosive, uncomplicated sexual match. This is a psychological and emotional sexual match. It needs atmosphere, it needs privacy, it needs emotional safety, it needs silence, it needs tenderness without pressure. Chaturthi cannot be forced into surrender. Dashami cannot remain open without reassurance. So if the emotional field is tense, the sexual field becomes blocked. Chaturthi may physically withdraw when emotionally crowded. Dashami may become sexually unsure when emotionally unreceived. One may need depth before touch. The other may need tenderness before desire. One may fear exposure. The other may fear rejection. And this can create a painful pattern in the bedroom. Dashami may wonder, why do I feel like I'm giving affection to someone behind a wall? Chaturthi may wonder, why do I feel like intimacy always comes with expectation? This is the sexual incompatibility. Not lack of attraction, but mismatch in emotional pacing. Chaturthi needs to feel safe before opening. Dashami needs to feel emotionally chosen before relaxing. If both are immature, sex can become irregular, emotionally loaded, or silently disappointing. Dashami may start using affection to seek reassurance. Chaturthi may start avoiding affection to avoid emotional demand. And once this happens, the body begins to carry unspoken resentment. The bed becomes quiet. Touch becomes cautious. Desire becomes inconsistent. And both may start feeling lonely even while being together. So what makes sexual intimacy work in this pairing? No pressure. No emotional interrogation before intimacy. No sulking after rejection. No using sex as proof of love. No using withdrawal as punishment. Chaturthi must learn to offer warmth before being perfectly ready. Dashami must learn not to collapse when the partner needs space. Sex works here when it becomes a sacred private space, not a battlefield of emotional needs. Soft lighting, quiet home atmosphere, privacy, patience, emotional honesty, gentle touch, meaningful affection, and respect for timing, these matter deeply. Now let us discuss the hidden imbalance. This pairing can become one-sided very easily. Dashami may become the emotional giver. Chaturthi may become the emotional gatekeeper. Dashami gives care, time, empathy, forgiveness, adjustment, explanation, and softness. Chaturthi decides when to open, when to close, when to talk, when to withdraw, when to receive, and when to reject. This creates an invisible power imbalance. The Dashami person may not notice it immediately because they are naturally giving, but over time they may start feeling emotionally tired. They may feel, I keep showing up, but I do not feel fully received. And Chaturthi may not notice the imbalance either because they are busy protecting themselves. They may think, I never asked you to do all this for me. But that is not enough. In intimacy, you are responsible not only for what you ask for, you are also responsible for what you repeatedly allow someone to give while you remain unavailable. That is the difficult truth for Chaturthi. And Dashami must also hear a difficult truth. Love is not rescuing. Love is not overfunctioning. Love is not becoming someone's emotional climate control system. If you keep giving without boundaries, you are not creating intimacy. You may be creating dependency, resentment, and self-abandonment. So this pairing can work only when Dashami stops losing themselves and Chaturthi stops hiding behind sensitivity. Now, if you are single and you keep attracting this pattern, ask yourself, are you the Dashami type who keeps loving unavailable people because you believe your softness can heal them? Or are you the Chaturthi type who keeps attracting caring people but then resents them when they come too close? This is powerful self-knowledge. Because your Tithi pattern does not only describe who you attract, it describes how your emotional body behaves under intimacy pressure. If you are recently divorced or healing from a breakup, this pairing may explain why love was present but still not enough. Sometimes love fails not because people are bad. Sometimes love fails because one person needed spaciousness and the other needed reassurance. One person needed privacy, the other needed participation. One person processed pain in silence, the other processed pain through connection. And both judged each other's survival style. That is where relationships break. Now let us talk about what maturity looks like. For the Chaturthi person, maturity means learning that vulnerability is not defeat. You cannot keep saying, this is just how I am, while your partner keeps starving for emotional warmth. You may need space, you may need silence, you may need time, but you must communicate that without cruelty. Say, I need time, but I am not leaving you. Say, I am overwhelmed, but I care. Say, I cannot talk right now, but I will return to this conversation. That is emotional maturity. Not disappearing, not punishing, not becoming cold, not expecting the partner to magically understand your silence. For the Dashami person, maturity means learning that empathy needs boundaries. You cannot keep giving more and then silently resent the person for not receiving it the way you imagined. You cannot make someone open faster by loving harder. You cannot advise someone into vulnerability. You cannot serve your way into being chosen. You must learn to say, I care, but I will not chase you. You must learn to say, I am available, but I will not abandon myself. You must learn to ask, do you want me close or do you need space? And then you must respect the answer without collapsing. That is maturity. Now, what lifestyle supports this pairing? A noisy, chaotic, socially overloaded lifestyle will damage this relationship. Too many relatives interfering, too many friends giving opinions, too much social pressure, too much work stress, too much public performance, all of this can destabilize Chaturthi Dashami. Why? Because Dashami is easily influenced by outside opinions, and Chaturthi is easily irritated by outside noise. So this couple needs strong boundaries around the relationship. They need a peaceful home. They need silence. They need spiritual discipline. They need a lifestyle that allows emotional decompression. Meditation can help. Journaling can help. Nature can help. Gentle routines can help. Private conversations can help. Shared service can help. This pairing can become beautiful when both come together for a higher purpose. Healing work, teaching, counseling, spiritual study, environmental care, women's welfare, artistic service, or compassionate contribution. Dashami brings the desire to serve. Chaturthi brings depth and sensitivity to suffering. Together, they can become a couple that understands pain and transforms it into wisdom. But this requires both to stop making the relationship only about emotional survival. They need shared meaning. They need shared values. They need a life larger than their wounds. Now let us look at the man-woman dynamic. If the man is Chaturthi and the woman is Dashami, the woman may feel she is loving a man who has depth but does not always express tenderness. She may sense his pain. She may try to soften him. She may wait for him to open. But if he does not show affection, she may eventually feel emotionally unseen. In this case, the Chaturthi man must understand. Silent loyalty is not enough. Your woman needs signs of warmth. She needs emotional reassurance. She needs to know that your distance is not rejection. You cannot expect her to trust a love that is never expressed. If the woman is Chaturthi and the man is Dashami, the man may try to support her, advise her, soothe her, or bring emotional peace. But she may feel he is intruding into her inner world. She may respect his care but resist his emotional entry. In this case, the Dashami man must understand. Softness must be paired with strength. Do not over-explain. Do not over-advise. Do not keep knocking on a door that needs time. Stand steady. Be present. Let her come forward without making her feel emotionally hunted. This is how polarity becomes mature. Now here is the deeper spiritual lesson of Chaturthi Dashami. Chaturthi teaches Dashami, do not lose yourself in giving. Not every wound is yours to heal. Dashami teaches Chaturthi, do not hide forever. Not every hand reaching toward you is a threat. That is the sacred exchange. But if both refuse to mature, the same lesson becomes suffering. Dashami becomes exhausted. Chaturthi becomes isolated. Dashami becomes confused. Chaturthi becomes defensive. Dashami gives more. Chaturthi opens less. And then both feel unloved. This is why I call this pairing a difficult but meaningful intimacy mirror. It shows you where you confuse love with rescue. It shows you where you confuse protection with distance. It shows you where your emotional body repeats old survival strategies inside new relationships. So if you are in a Chaturthi Dashami connection, do not ask only, are we compatible? Ask a better question. Are we mature enough for this compatibility? Because this pairing does not survive on attraction alone. It survives on emotional responsibility. It survives on honest space. It survives on boundaries. It survives on tenderness that does not pressure. It survives on silence that does not punish. It survives when Chaturthi learns to open a little more, and Dashami learns to give a little less compulsively. That is the balance. The Chaturthi person must not weaponize withdrawal. The Dashami person must not weaponize care. The Chaturthi person must not say, you are too much every time the partner asks for closeness. The Dashami person must not say, you do not love me every time the partner needs space. Both must become emotionally cleaner. Both must become more truthful. Both must learn the difference between a need and a wound. Because many people do not love from their needs, they love from their wounds. Chaturthi may love from fear of exposure. Dashami may love from fear of not being needed. And when two wounds meet, they may call it destiny. But destiny without maturity becomes repetition. So if this pairing has entered your life, take it seriously. It is asking you to grow. It is asking you to stop performing love in your default pattern. It is asking you to become conscious. Chaturthi must say, I will not disappear when I feel vulnerable. Dashami must say, I will not overgive when I feel insecure. Chaturthi must say, I will let love reach me. Dashami must say, I will not force love to respond on my timeline. And when both can do that, this pairing becomes softer. The cave receives the river. The river stops flooding the cave. A sacred inner lake begins to form. That is the highest possibility of Chaturthi Dashami. Not easy romance, not instant emotional comfort, not effortless sexual chemistry, but deep, private, healing intimacy built through discipline, patience, truth, boundaries, and spiritual maturity. If you have lived this pairing, you know exactly what I'm saying. You know what it feels like to love someone who is present but hidden. You know what it feels like to care deeply but still feel outside the door. You know what it feels like to want closeness, but also fear what closeness will demand from you. And that is why Tithi compatibility is so powerful, because it does not only tell you whether two people match, it reveals the emotional body behind the attraction. It shows the hidden rhythm of giving, receiving, withdrawing, longing, touching, fearing, and surrendering. And when you understand that rhythm, you stop blaming blindly. You start seeing clearly. You start asking, what is my emotional body doing in love? Why do I chase? Why do I withdraw? Why do I overgive? Why do I protect myself even from the person I love? That is where real intimacy begins. So if you are a couple, use this knowledge to stop fighting the wrong fight. If you are single, use this knowledge to understand what kind of emotional body you are attracted to. If you are divorced or healing from a breakup, use this knowledge to stop calling yourself foolish for loving someone who could not meet you fully. Maybe there was love, but maybe the emotional bodies were not mature enough to hold that love. And if you want to understand your own TD pairing, your intimacy pattern, your emotional compatibility, your hidden attraction loops, and the deeper reason why certain relationships pull you in, but also wound you, then connect with me for a personal intimacy reading and compatibility reading. Because the right reading does not only tell you who you love, it tells you how you love. It tells you where you protect. It tells you where you overgive. It tells you where your emotional body is still waiting to mature. And once you see that, you stop repeating unconscious relationships. You begin choosing with awareness. You begin loving with strength. You begin entering intimacy not as a wounded child looking for rescue, but as a conscious adult ready for truth, tenderness, and transformation.